Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dynamite channel. I'm Chipper,
I'm Romina.
and this is a new series that we're doing, reviewing the latest episode of One Piece. We felt like this was probably a good time to do that because of they're coming back from the layoff, the several month layoff from last fall, and Romina actually caught up during the break. So like this was like the first episode that she saw like when she was supposed to see it. So yeah, first of all, yeah, what do you think about One Piece so far before we get into 1123 and we'll go from there.
Well, let me just say, I am sorry it has taken this long
It took a long
to
time.
watch this show because years ago, I would watch him watch it. And then I would ask him, like, what is this about? He would say, oh, it's about pirates, but it's like really deep. And then I was just like, nah, it's okay. We have other things we're watching.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if I could handle this big investment. And I think I started after the live action.
You did, yeah.
That was very recent.
It was like all last year
I mean, he was super caught up, like watching it since, I don't know, when did you start watching it?
when it came out. So
Which
my
is-
2000 and I think it's like 2005ish was when I started watching because my
He's
yeah. It was in college. My girlfriend at the time introduced me to it before it was in the US. And then so I had to download, I had to go on and download the episodes in little like 10 packs on Kazaa. Y'all don't know, you know if y'all remember Kazaa. And then
that was before my time.
but the problem was my Japanese wasn't good enough then to understand what they were saying. So then I had to download another file of like somebody had made the subtitles in English. And then I had to download something else to like sync the subtitles to the episode. And I had to do it in like 10 episode batches. Yeah, it was tough there for a long time. So I was really then when it came to the US, a lot of the edits that I think it was Funimation at the time that like I didn't like that, which is why we still watch it in Japanese. But which I think Crunchyroll, since it's gotten on there, it's gotten way better. But yeah, so I've been there since pretty much the
I
beginning.
started when was it? Last year?
Yeah, no,
A little over a
the
year
end
ago.
of 2023.
Yeah. The live action came. I
Yeah.
saw it. I really liked it. But I was like, what do you think? Because I knew he was caught up and, I really cared about, like, what did you think of that show? You were okay with it. You didn't, the live action, I mean.
Yeah, it was good. I was happy with it.
Well, after that, I was like, all right, I've seen enough. I am ready to make this commitment. And it's hard to do that when you work full time and have a child. But I did it.
You did.
And I finally caught up. And we're here today talking about the show after this hiatus, which felt really long. But, I'm glad they rested.
Yeah, much deserved from Oda-san too, because the manga as well was on a smaller break, and then it started back up, and then now the animes.
So he's caught up on everything.
Yeah, it's good.
I've
So-
only watched him.
Yeah, so I'll try not to give any spoilers past what we're watching. Stop me if you hear something that you don't know, but it's not. I'm not. It's not too far. It's not too far ahead. Yeah. All right. So where did we start this episode? Let's just start into this is 1123. And we are winding down the Vegapunk arc, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I always need the recap. So I really appreciated that in the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is the world shakes the Straw Hats hostage situation.
First of all, before we even get into that, like the One Piece like episode titles, I don't know if y'all are like in love with them as much as I was. Like when I was learning Japanese, it was so helpful because every chapter is the same way in the manga. Like every chapter has the title and then like the subtitle, and it's so good for vocabulary. Like because a lot of that stuff comes back up to over 1100, 1200 chapters, and like it was just really good for vocabulary to see like those words and then like over and over for like it's almost like its own spaced repetition system or something, like shakes or hostage situations, stuff that you wouldn't just come across in normal studying unless you were like reading the news or something. So it was, that was really beneficial, and like learning things in an enjoyable way. I think you retain more that way.
Yeah. And then it starts off with basically views from all parts of the world.
which they also do, right? Like, yeah.
So like you see Laboon, every time I see him, I get emotional. But it show all sorts of people, all sorts of areas, and then they started with a nice recap for us that Luffy's the new. How do you pronounce it?
Oh, Yonko.
Yonko, the new Yonko, and then Dr. Vegapunk asked for his help to get off the island.
Yep.
And then it shows a little bit about the Marines.
Yeah.
And it tells us a little bit about Kizaru.
Kizaru, yeah.
Kizaru and how the different stakeholders in the show have different plans for that island.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because it showed the elders as well. Right. So kind of reminding us all the different people that were involved at that time.
Yeah. What do you think about Kizaru, by the way?
Well, I like him. Okay. He's hard to read.
Yeah.
But I do think, I feel like a lot of them do their own thing. Like they have their own ideas of justice, of what is right.
Yeah.
And they have different missions.
Well, one of my favorite, like some of my favorite characters are from the Marines, and the way that One Piece doesn't just make it some uniform block of how they do that. Like you said, like coming up with the different forms of justice, which they all have on their coats, like which type of justice they believe in. And
well, even talking about that too, when they were showing the Marines they were doing some shots of them, and then I was looking at it and I thought to myself, they could pass off as pirates too. Yeah. Like a lot of them look like really badass, like tattoos and all these things. So it kind of goes with that, like they all have their own
Aokiji.
They're not like, the straight, standardized version. Maybe the other ones, but like the ones that are kind of have more autonomy.
Well, Aokiji literally is a pirate now, right?
Yeah.
with Kurohige, with Blackbeard.
Wait, so you're saying the Marines are some of your favorites?
Some of the people from
like
the
who?
Marines, like him, like
Aokiji?
Kizaru and Kizaru.
Aokiji's so
I really
cool.
like Kizaru too. Yeah, but yeah, there are a lot. What about you? Who are your outside of the crew? Who are there like
my favorite characters?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know
who?
I think like Law is a really cool character.
Yeah.
Because, he acts all serious and he's really smart.
Yeah.
Right? But then like you could see his sensitive side come out. Which I think is really cool. And the surgeon, that whole kind of precision.
You like the science. The science of it all.
I am a scientist.
The three like the play between the three captains, between Luffy and Kid and Law, that's always really funny because they're so competitive, but it's really funny at some points too. But also when it gets serious, like it did with Kaido or something like that, it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see that.
Those three remind me of that scene of Oden meeting Goldie Roger and them fighting each other and them being so crazy strong.
Yeah.
And then also, I think, didn't Goldie Roger also do this with Big Guy, the earthquake impact? He was Ace's.
Oh yeah.
They are really strong characters that fight each other, could fight each other to the death, and they look forward to competing against each other, but they don't. That's the same thing. They don't kill each other, but they're both really strong.
They're capable.
They're capable of doing it. Yeah. They choose not to. Yeah. And they'd rather have fun.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next?
Yeah.
All right. So it shows people around the world, people crying, seeing the news of Luffy, talking about Garp, wondering what happened with Garp.
And we also saw that they were some of Morgan's seagulls, right, were dispensing the news, and then you could tell it was in there, right, at Mary Jo, that they were talking about. We like the way that Morgan kind of wrote the article, slanted it their way. Oh, that was cool.
Basically saying that Luffy was the perpetrator.
Yeah, like they always do. Yeah.
Killing Garp or, taking Vegapunk as hostage.
Exactly.
And then we see the kind of the massive like world events like tsunamis, earthquakes, wind happening everywhere. No one knowing the epicenter, but us knowing that this is due to the disappearance of, how do you say it?
Lulusia.
All right. What else? We learn a little bit about the pacifistas and where their power came from. If we wondered that, because I know we like Kuma. Obviously, we learned a lot about how Kuma was used in this.
Yeah.
But we learned, or we're told by Sentomaru, that Kizaru's power was studied by Dr. Vegapunk, and that's what was used in the pacifistas.
Exactly.
Which is helpful.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see. Saint Saturn from the elders. He was the one who gave the order to also sink the ships of the people that were evacuating from Egghead Island.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprising to me. It seems like he has no problem just massacring whole communities of people.
Yeah. And then it goes into York after that, right? What do you think about York?
It's hard for me to understand like how they exist, all of the Vegapunks.
Yeah.
So I don't, it seems like they clearly betrayed Vegapunk.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how.
But you'll see, One Piece is really good about this, about showing, just kind of hinting at some things and then giving you a little more information in the future. So you'll have, it will clarify some of that pretty soon. What does he have on there? Oh, it comes back. It comes back to Luffy and...
Well, after showing everyone talking about him, the whole episode, it finally shows him. Right? And the crew, because everyone's like, oh, scary Luffy, he's got, Vegapunk, and then York was talking the whole time eventually with the elders, right?
Right.
And then it shows that York is like, help me, please! And then, because they have the monsters that have trapped York, which are just the silly straw hats.
Yeah.
And then finally, what I found really impactful, it's weird because Luffy and they have their silly moments, but then there's like the serious moments. And then, they were all just hanging out, trying to figure out what to do. And then Luffy, you could tell by the tone of his voice. I don't know Japanese, but I could tell. He said something, I was like, oh, immediately, like when he started speaking Usopp, like, and everyone, you could see the whole crew stop, and he was like, Usopp. And he like asked to get the snail. What is it called? The snail.
The Dentemushi.
Yeah, to kind of take it and use York to force their way out.
Luffy does that sometimes. As goofy as he is, at times, like you can tell when stuff gets serious, like he'll switch it. He'll switch it on. The leadership kicks in.
The most serious is like when you don't see his eyes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like all black or something.
There's like black in the eyes. Yeah,
and then the tone of the voice.
Yeah. Especially like right after he's using, like in the beginning, when he was starting to use hockey more and stuff. Everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like is that came in? It was like that. Or when he was telling Robin that she was like to join the crew and like they were coming to give. That was times like that, right? Like that's some of the first times that you see that.
Or
that kick
Sanji when he was like, "I'm not going to eat."
Oh yeah, it was another one of those times.
You see that Robin is healing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing too.
Yeah. Thanks to Chopper.
Chopper. Anything else? Any other updates?
No, I think this episode, I mean, just to kind of encapsulate what it was trying to catch everybody up. It's been a long delay. They were aware of how long it had been. And then to give you that little like kick in, like, oh, this is the action. This is taking us into the next direction for the next saga, which should kick off here in the next like episode or two. I'm really excited to see the next one, which the shooting schedule has been a little bit different. Usually they shoot on Saturday nights in Japan. Sunday they'll release those episodes, but for the wait, I think they have 2 episodes. They had one that came out on Friday, and then they have another one that we haven't watched yet. That's actually out now. That we'll
catch up.
Yeah, we need to shoot that later this week. But
overall, how do you feel about the episode?
Good, man. Like and I've said this like a lot over the last few years, because there was a time there where, and I felt this way about Dragon Ball when Super started, and then a couple of eras ago in the like maybe around before Wano, like around like Whole Cake Island, that it was kind of lazy. The animation was getting a little lazier, but I think some shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and like Demon Slayer, like they really like made Dragon Ball and One Piece like raise their game to they're like, oh, by the way, we actually still are the best. And then like so since then, I mean, you saw, I mean, just some of the crazy stuff in Wano, him going like all of the Gear Fifth things that they're able to accomplish, like really amazing animation.
Oh, and the music. I mean, when I think about like the first time I heard Luffy go Gear Fifth.
Yeah.
Like that music,
the drums,
primal drums.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, like I don't know if
the drums of liberation. I think the track's called like Drums of Liberation. Yeah,
that is epic. I love it. I can't wait to see them fight.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. It was more of a recap.
Yeah,
I didn't see much fighting or any fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Yeah. I mean, every character is, I mean, I said Law, but like every character is really so special. So
because they have depth to them. That's the beauty about One Piece, is that somebody that you think is just bad or somebody you think is just good, and it might take 200 or 300 episodes, and then you say like, oh, I can like Big Mom could have for so long was just like the most like irredeemable bad guy that you could have, and then they've got you crying and like feeling bad for her.
Even
by the end of it, and Kaido too.
Eventually, like even at least there, you could find something that you can understand, and like understanding his love of fighting. Yeah,
the cool thing about Kaido too is if you go back and when you're watching the episodes and see that like some of the first times that they're introducing him, just when they're like teasing him as the bad guy, he's like trying to kill himself. He's like drunk trying to kill himself. Nice. It's not even like like they're setting that like, oh, this is a deeper person before they even like talk about how bad he is. But so I thought that was interesting. But we'll get with the next episode probably in the next couple of days.
I cannot wait, and I cannot wait for Dan to catch up.
Dan's on 705. I talked to him today, and I was like, "Where are you?" 705.
He started watching it before me, and I caught up.
No, Dan started watching it with me in 2005, and then he hasn't caught up since then. He was only 5 episodes behind at the beginning.
He's joining when he catches up, and he's trying to like.
He's getting further and further back. We know everybody we know, our 4-year-old daughter has caught up before Dan. Like,
well, we might have, maybe another friend come join at some point. That's
Calvin. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. But we'll be maybe later this week.
Well, I cannot wait to do more of this. Tell us more. Who's your favorite One Piece?
That's a good. Yeah.
What'd you think about the this episode? Maybe we're just like too biased that we love this show. Like I love this episode. I cannot wait for the next one. So can't wait to talk more.
See you next time. Bye. Peace.